There you go. Okay, we have some fabulous recognitions and announcements. So I'm going to invite our friends from Blue Star Mothers to come up real quick, please. You can go to the next slide, hun. So, and true style, our summer months are full of sponsorships and renewals and thankfulness. And this is a very nice gift and presentation that we're going to have. And we're very blessed to have Susie here with us to share a little bit about what they do, but more importantly, also show them some appreciation for all that they do for our Rotary Club. So without that, I think I'm going to turn it over to you so you can tell them what's on this big piece of paper. How does that sound? Okay.
I'm honored to present to you today a $1,000 check as a donation from Wilco Blue Star Mothers, Chapter 15. We are also we're honored to be an affiliate this year, a repeated affiliate for Field of Honor, and hope to be seeing all of you a lot. And just one little note about Blue Star Mothers. In case you don't know, the Blue Star Mothers have sons and daughters serving in the military, and in my case, served honorably for 25 years. And one of the missions for us, besides supporting each other, is to support the Gold Star Mothers. So every year on Gold Star Mother's Day, which is the last Sunday of September, we have a luncheon for them. And this year we're celebrating the home front, because we are in fact the home front, but the emphasis is on the 40s. And then for that reason, I'm wearing an authentic pattern from the 40s. And one of the things I'd like to ask of you is to see me later, in case you have memorabilia from that time. And remember, we're not focusing on the war itself, we're focusing on the home front. What did people at home do? The nurses, the Red Cross, the people who went out and collected rubber tires and tin cans and everything. If you have any old posters or anything from your parents or grandparents that you might lend to us for our luncheon, please see me afterward. We would love to talk to you. Thank you.
Let's take a picture. Thank you. Yeah. Here, come over here. We've got let's come down here. We have a microphone stand. Yeah. Just gonna throw the check. It's all good. It's all good.
Yeah, I'm trying to get the Blue Star Mothers logo behind.
Oh, there we go.
That's why I found one. Looks good.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you, Blue Star Mothers. All the good we're able to do because people believe in us. So we appreciate all the support the community gives us. All right, we have some service opportunities. So come on up, Jackie. I'll quickly remind everybody tomorrow morning, bring your water, bring your work gloves. We have a ramp build. We have a ramp to build. Literally, we need to build it. So if you've never built a ramp, this is your opportunity to join us. We always enjoy everybody that comes out to help. So if you would like to learn more about that, please get with Myra after this meeting and she can get you through all that. We also have another service opportunity this weekend. We will be busy Rotarians. Jackie, could you take a minute?
Yes. All right, thank you so much, everyone. So on Sunday, the EC4A is going to be hosting a backpack packing supply event. What they want is volunteers that can basically read the backpack slips and start stuffing all of the materials in there. But I think that this would be a phenomenal opportunity to increase our visibility as Rotarians into all the different diverse communities around us. So if you're interested in that, we do need 50 volunteers. I do have an extensive sign-up list, but I'm always happy to have more of a crowd than less of a crowd. So thank you so much.
Good job.
I'm just going to add to that I will be going. So if somebody wants to carpool to that event, see me after. In case you don't know, EC4A stands for Education and Careers for All.
Nobody should look at themselves on this weekend and go, I'm kind of bored, right? We just provided you a wealth of opportunities to take care of it. Okay, so last night was the dinner and we fed some fajitas to our Riley campers. Some of you are here with us. If you went to Riley last night to help serve that meal, go ahead and stand up for us so we can give you a little bit of a thank you for making the drive out there. It's always great when Georgetown shows up, and I'm excited to watch our Riley kid count continue to grow. So thank you, everybody, for that service above self. Okay, we're going to skip this. Dennis is on vacation this week, and he is purposely filled next week with lots of membership. So be prepared. It's exciting stuff, and we look forward to having him back. Galen. While Galen comes up to the mic, as you recall that this money that we raise through Happy Bucks goes to our polio, our Rotary Foundation. Have you read your emails this week? What popped up in New York? Somebody tell me. A case of polio is now active and known in the United States and New York. It was an unvaccinated person. There's a lot of details on that. So while we have been fortunate to have been battling polio in 2 countries very far away from here, we may not have felt very close to home, our dollars are definitely going to be going to lots of work to educate and get our message out here. You know, as they said, every case of polio is a threat to children, so we do want to make sure we stay on that. Galen would like me to read this. 18 million people around the world who would have died or been paralyzed or alive and walking because of the polio eradication campaign. Health workers and volunteers supported by Polio Plus grants have built an infrastructure for delivering healthcare and collecting data that in many parts of the world didn't exist before. It's already being used to improve overall healthcare and to fight other diseases, proving that the legacy of Polio Plus is more than eradicating a deadly disease from the planet. It's also building a stronger healthcare system that provides better access to life-saving interventions for the world's most vulnerable children. The polio eradication campaign requests your help to every child. Thanks to the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, your contribution will be tripled. So let's move that needle today, guys. So we got lots of good things to be happy about. Wayne was at Rotary, but he took a phone call, so we can be happy that he left the room again. We can do whatever we want to, Galen. So what do we think? Oh, who's happy? You got anything good for us?
Well, I do have a story.
Okay.
I have a short story. This is an educational moment. So education is always important. My wife's name is Maureen, and she has a niece named Jenna. And Jenna's in the 5th grade. And Jenna's teacher gave her class an assignment. The assignment was to tell a story with a moral at the end of it. The next day, the kids came back one by one and began to tell their story. There were the usual tales of lying, eating hot chicken cookies, saying hurtful things, sneaking out of church. And then it was Jenna's turn. His teacher said, "Jenna, can you share your story today?" "Yes, ma'am," said Jenna. "My daddy told me a story about my Aunt Maureen. She was a fighter pilot in Desert Storm, and her plane got shot down. She bailed out of enemy territory, and all she had was a small flask of whiskey, a pistol, and a survival knife. She drank the whiskey on the way down so it wouldn't break. Her parachute landed right in the middle of 20 enemy troops. She shot 15 of them with her gun until she ran out of bullets. She then killed 4 more with her knife until the blade broke. And then she killed the last soldier with her bare hands." "Oh, good heavens," the teacher said. She was horrified. "What kind of moral did your daddy tell you about this horrible story?" "Stay away from Aunt Maureen when she's drinking."
Well, and Galen, I'll kick off the Happy Bucks. I've got $40 that I want to put in. Today is my big sister's 40th birthday. So I was only going to do $2.50 because that's the age gap, but I'll go ahead and give her the full 40 because she's been a pretty good sister.
Thank you very much. Who's up next? Who's up next?
Yeah, my nephew just finished Army basic training,
96 hours of pure hell at the end, 40-mile pack, 40-mile march, 10 miler, all this. So he's officially an Army soldier now. So 45 miles an hour in honor of his completing Army basic training.
I passed 14 hours underwater training, so I will give $14.
Yeah. You know, when I wear coach and lapels on anymore, so I have a really hard time on the pin. But this morning when I read the paper and I noticed that woman had a case in New York, I thought I should put on a shirt to wear today. Twice this morning, someone told me I had a nice looking shirt and I said, you know, so anyway, I told the Rotary story twice and I'll give $25 for each time I had. Anybody else happy? Oh, yeah. You should be happy. The honor's here. What's that worth to you? How much do you love them?
My daughter Belinda is turning 32 in 2 weeks, so I'll do $32 for 32.
Galen.
Let's go back here, Mr. Tom. This is for Preservation Georgetown. They're having Day of the Cowboy tomorrow from 10 o'clock to 2. If you've got grandchildren, neighbors, it's based on kids to come out and look a little bit about the history of cowboys and get a little more information about Preservation Georgetown. And I'll give $25. It's at the Grace in on Main Street, downtown Georgetown.
We still have little kids, so don't discount just grandkids.
Oh, yeah.
But it's okay. I didn't call him back this week, so he's not gonna, we'll be good next week. I owe him a phone call. I owe him a phone call after this.
I think anybody. Yesterday at the Rotaract camp, I don't know if anybody knows, but a significant supporter of the organization out there is Cinema Theaters. And they sell these little tokens representing anything from soup to nuts, and I want a $3 token. Unfortunately, somebody had up the ante and called me cheap. He put in $10. So I'll put in $7 to make the difference up. So they call me cheap. $7.
Seven.
We'll be back there in just a minute. I'm gonna give $50 today. My son joined the Rotary Club of Austin.
Yeah. While Galen makes his way over there to tackle that table, Jerry Huffman just came to us online. He's got 50 happy bucks in honor of the new CEO of the Georgetown Chamber, Chantel Mays, who starts Monday. And by the way, she is a Rotarian. So let's get that membership transferred up from Clearville. So.
He didn't want to say anything. Yes. What would you like to say?
Well, I would just like to contribute, piggyback on that military. I love those drill sergeants. My son did 2 tours of duty and I'm back. The best thing is when he came back with stories of the drill sergeants in South Carolina. That was entertaining.
Well, Galen, I think we are definitely moving that needle on polio. So
Well, I could give $10.
thank you, sir.
Well, I went to my cardiologist yesterday and he said I was looking pretty good. And then I asked him, can I go to dinner at Terry's Steakhouse last night for a 4-course pork chop meal? And he said, yes. So I went there last night. And if anybody wants to go to Terry's, you can get a 4-course meal this month for $44. 4 courses, and it was pretty good. Anyway, that's my keynote.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Galen. Okay, we started early today because we have a group of Rotarians that are going to make their way up here to take this over. I just would like to commend everybody in this room. This week, I have experienced multiple different committees that have very different passions and directives, all full of Rotarians that are determined and I know will change the world. And we're excited today to update everybody on the work that our peace building group has been doing. They have a very thoughtful program for us. And again, please engage and be excited. So with that, please welcome Dr. Ron Swain and Georgianne Hewitt and the Racial Unity Committee as our today's program. So we'll go to that next slide for them. Thank you, everybody.
President Cat. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, everyone. Okay, that's a little better. You don't want me to stay up here, do you? Okay. Thank you so much. This afternoon, Georgianne and subcommittee of our Racial Unity Group, the assessment committee, is going to report on a survey that was done a short time ago. Many of you will remember that 2 years ago, in June of 2020, President George Lorigan invited me to make a presentation to our club following the murder of George Floyd in Minneapolis. And after that presentation, we convened what is now called the Racial Unity Committee. That group meets each week on Thursday at 12 noon via Zoom. We begin our meetings with a recitation of our mission statement and our vision statement. And those two statements are grounded in Rotary's peace building mission. And a part of that peace building statement is this: Rotary creates environments of peace. As a humanitarian organization, peace is the cornerstone of our mission. We believe when people work to create peace in their communities, that change can have a global effect. So our commitment to peace building today answers new challenges. How can we make the greatest possible impact, and how can we achieve the vision of lasting change? And Rotary also has a statement about diversity. At Rotary, we have no tolerance for racism. Promoting respect, celebrating diversity, demanding ethical leadership, and working tirelessly to advance peace are the central tenets of our work. We have much work to do to create more just, open, and welcoming communities for all people. We know that there are no easy fixes, and that challenging conversations and work lie before all of us. Rotary's strength has been our ability and commitment to bring people together. We will tap into that strength as we stand with those who are working for peace and justice. Rotary will do our part to listen, learn, and take action to ensure that we continue to contribute to making positive change. Rotary creates environments of peace. And now I turn it over to Georgianne Hewitt and her committee.
I'd love for everybody to give Ron a hearty applause because he's been the convener of this group for 2 years. Amazingly, as we started this work, we've been meeting every week, every Thursday for 2 years, anywhere from 12 to 20 people at a time. We have members that join us from Australia and other parts of the world, and we have begun conversations with our local district. But as we began to have these conversations, we found out how much what we were responding to also was aligning with a lot of the work of Rotary International. And so one of the areas that a couple of years ago, Rotary International decided to focus on was on diversity, equity, and inclusion. And our district has kicked off an initiative there, and we've been visiting with them about how we can help with that. But I think it's important for us to hear from our international organization a little bit about why they're interested in what is commonly referred to as DEI. We have a video. This video is 10 minutes long. We don't have time to watch the whole thing and do the other things that we want to do today to report on our assessment survey. But I'm going to ask Eric to get us to the video and play the last 3 minutes. You're going to have to listen very carefully because it's the voices. There's actually closed captioning on the bottom, but we're going to try to get the volume right so you can hear the last 7 minutes. For those of you online, I put the link for this video in chat, so you can also, while you're muted, if you want to watch the last 3 minutes, you should be able to do that. That's good. Anywhere around 7 is good.
Most importantly, since this is a collective effort, every individual in our organization has a role to play, and you will be at the forefront of our effort. As Valerie mentioned, your leadership will lay the foundation for building and strengthening our environment of inclusion and equity. The actions you take will affect the change that will reverberate for generations to come. At Rotary, we value diversity and celebrate the contributions of people of all backgrounds across age, ethnicity, race, color, disability, learning style, religion, faith, socioeconomic status, culture, marital status, language spoken, gender, sexual orientation, and gender identity, as well as differences in ideas, thoughts, values, and beliefs. We are stronger when each individual is respected for who they are and is able to show up as their true, authentic selves, and therefore feel valued and can contribute in equity. We believe that all people hold visible and invisible qualities that inherently make them unique, and we strive to create an inclusive culture where each person knows they are valued and belong. In this journey, we are committed to being honest and transparent about where we are, and as an organization, continue to learn and do better. It's such a momentous time, right, Valerie?
It is. So what can each of us do? Be a champion. Speak out respectfully and hold yourselves and others accountable. Invite local diversity, equity, and inclusion experts to speak to your club. Encourage and support participants from underrepresented groups to take on leadership positions in your club and district. Expand your knowledge by taking a DEI course in the Learning Center. This work towards a more inclusive and equitable Rotary experience is the future of our organization. But remember, 116 years ago, our organization was founded on the diversity of professional skills. Paul Harris understood that diverse vocational backgrounds help to broaden perspectives that help us grow as individuals and in business. Today, we are a global organization and diversity is all around us. Let me close with this. Diversity is a fact. Equity is a choice. Inclusion is an action. Belonging is an outcome. Obrigada.
Thank you.
Thank you, Eric. So we'll put a link to the entire video in the trumpet if you want to watch the rest of it. So what we did back in May, we've been, as I said, we've been at this work for 2 years. And as we did visioning 2 years ago, we knew that if we want to meet certain goals in 3 to 5 years, that we have to know where we are and be able to assess, are we making progress on these goals? So in May, we administered an assessment survey on behalf of the Racial Unity and Peace Building Committee. And 70 of you answered the questions on that survey, and we are so appreciative. Ron actually challenged the group to get to 70, and you did get to 70 exactly, which is amazing. Good Rotarians, always meeting the mark. So we have that survey. I've got a summary. We're also going to put the link to the full summary in the trumpet. It is rich with information. Today, we're going to share 3 areas and very briefly. And I'm pleased that members of the assessment committee who've been doing a beautiful job, Tom Howard and Jackie Williamson and Jeannie Cox, we have met a lot and designed the survey, administered it, and then tried to look at the results. So first up today, Jackie's going to come forward and tell us about the section that had to do in the survey about what is welcoming. Did you feel welcomed to Rotary as a Rotarian? Jackie.
Well, thanks so much. This is so awesome. Okay, perfect. So one of the things that I wanted to point out as a Rotarian is to understand the differences between exclusion, segregation, integration, inclusion, and belonging. So what we've noticed in the results of the survey is that we have an aspired vision to be an engaging club that creates belonging and safety, bring our authentic selves and talents to the table so that we can appreciate each other and become a more equitable society. So what I'm going to explain here is how these different circles work. So many people are excluded from community because they're seen as different in some way. People with disability, people with different skin colors, different countries, people whose sexualities are different. Segregation is a set apart community. So this is a small group that is its own culture that's typically based around those things that we mentioned, skin colors, sexuality, etc. Integration is when people start to join into the community, but not necessarily are included in belonging of that community. So then when we go to inclusion, it means that every person is valued for their gifts, their differences, their contributions, and true inclusion is what starts to bridge the gap into belonging. Belonging is exclusively, it's inclusivity on fire, essentially, because communities are engaged, they're involved, and they're valued for their contributions. So in our survey response with the 70 people that responded, we found that 57% or 40 people felt that they were very welcomed in the organization. And 35% of those also strongly agreed that we were very inviting in that organization. There were a few neutral comments and some disagreements. And so I do want to point out a few of those because I think it's always good to get some authentic feedback. These were these were responded to in a confidential manner. So I do want to just mention a few. So when I joined, the member who sponsored me was very welcoming, made a point of introducing me to others. They're no longer active. Now it seems like it has become very cliquish. Another response was cliquish. Several members make me feel not welcomed. Ooh, that's painful. And then on the other side of the token, Some improvements include needing mentors for new members and one-on-one authentic relationships to help reduce some of that behavior. So a lot of great responses came around Rotarians that are focused on building a better community for all. There are a lot of really phenomenal responses around the field of honor, around inclusivity, and also visiting club members that come in and they feel very welcomed. So then on slide 2. All right. So the best way to help people feel welcomed and to increase our aspired vision of being a belonging group, because you don't say I'm inclusive of Rotary, you say I belong to Rotary. And that's really important for people to understand the difference. So there was a presentation that I found that's about the dimensions of belonging. And what we found was that if we foster belonging, the attitudes, actions, and postures of belonging include being present, being inviting to people, welcoming. The person feels known, accepted, supported, cared for, befriended, needed, and of course, loved. So I think that the challenge here that I would like to see is what would Rotary look like if we all felt like we could belong? How can we grow these dimensions and become better Rotarians?
Jackie. And next we have Tom Howard is going to share a little peek at our demographics.
Thank you, Georgianne. Yes, I get to talk about age and gender and ethnicity, okay? So we thought we'd give sort of an overview as I did this, sort of let's look at Rotary, let's look at Georgetown, let's look at our club, let's look at who took the survey. And I think maybe one of the reasons I'm doing this, as you'll see later on, is when you look at our club and you look at the survey, both largest groups, you can see by looking right here, over 70 white male. Those are the largest groups. Okay, so now let's get into the specifics. Rotary International is, as you can see, 69% men, 29% women. Now, what I find interesting, and I think one of the reasons that it's so important to bring in new members to Rotary is if you look at the line under that, we have a group called Rotaract, and Rotaract is for people 18 to 30 years of age, and they are already gender neutral. In fact, if you look at the fine print over on the right, you'll see that 51% of Rotaract are women. Obviously, that leaves 49% being male. The other thing that's interesting to me, and I think where we really need work, is that at the rate that we're bringing in new members under these genders, it'll be 2050 before Rotary itself reaches gender equity. And I don't know about you, but I'm not planning to be around to see that. Okay, so that begs the question, and one of them that we'll be talking about is what steps can we take to close the gap? Okay, so now let's look at the gender of our club. And as you can see, 74% male, 26% female. Gender of survey respondents, amazingly, we had a little bit stronger percentage from men than from women. That surprised me, but hopefully I'm not being chauvinistic when I say that, but I was expecting more response percentage-wise. But okay, so anyway, that's gender. Next, let's go to age of membership. And if we look at Rotary International, So all across our million-plus members, the average age is 61. The average age for Rotaract is 25. The other thing that was pointed out was that a majority of Rotary and Rotaract members were introduced to their club through a friend or business association. So this also begs the question, how can we be more inclusive and welcome members of different generations and experiences? Okay. Now, here we're looking at the age, and on the left, as you can see, age of club membership, on the right, age of survey respondents. Again, if you look at the age 70 and older, largest in both groups, followed by 60 and older. Now, when you look at the club, if you add the two oldest groups, that means well over half this club is older than 60. So I think we know where our work is in that area. And then last but not least, when we look at ethnicity, you can see the survey respondents on the left, and we look at Georgetown, Texas on the right, because Rotary, we don't have ethnicity tracking at the moment. But anyway, you can see that, you know, for the first two categories, we have had no survey respondents. For Black or African American, our respondents were about 3 1/3% compared to the population of Georgetown, which is just about 4.5%. For Hispanic, interestingly enough, for the club, same percentage, about 3 1/3, but for Georgetown, it was much larger at over 19%. And then anyway, white, Caucasian, 93% of the club, as opposed to Georgetown, which is 72, and then multiple ethnicity, 2% in the club, and about 2.5% in Georgetown. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. And now Jeannie is going to share a little of the results about when we asked you about how aware are you of our peace building efforts.
It's been such a pleasure to be part of the Racial Unity Committee for the last 2 years, right from the very inception. I represent that 3.39% Hispanic, so we can check a little box, but we've got a ways to go in a lot of categories. So the very first one that we're talking about today is what you, our club members, are proud of with respect to the Racial Unity Committee. So there were several responses to this. Actually, 65 of the 70 members that participated in the survey responded to this one. And the top 5 I'd like to share with you. The one that says the racial unity efforts become a model for other clubs through our outreach, like presenting programs and sharing resources. That was 61.5% of our club really liked that. The second most popular was the weekly Minute for Peace that we've included now. And you know, when we were at the Rotary International Convention, we had a beautiful, and do have it and share it around town too, is a very lovely brochure that has all of the minutes for peace that we've gathered. And people from all over the world were reaching out and asking about that. They loved that. So we are not only visible locally and regionally, but internationally. The third best liked area was, or most proud of, was the club programs presented on topics on peace building, diversity, equity, and inclusion. And I had to throw in the fourth one too, because it said the work of the Racial Unity Committee to advance understanding, goodwill, and peace. And that is what we are all about. The next area that we looked at was about our awareness of our club's local peace building efforts. This was really interesting because about 60% of those who responded mostly or fully understood the work that we're doing for in the Racial Unity Committee for peace building. 20% were about somewhat, 15% were a little bit aware of what's going on, and only 5% were really just a little tiny bit aware of it. So just very briefly, I'd like to share that with regional awareness. We don't have the slide up for that, but I want to tell you that awareness of the regional things that we're doing was 79%, somewhat or fully aware. And international awareness of what we are doing was 75%. So with this, I think we do have a lot of good awareness in our club about what's happening locally, regionally, and internationally, which is really good. We're glad that you're hearing what's happening here. The next one is about how committed you are personally, every Rotarian. How committed are you to personally helping towards peace building? And the respondents here, we had 66 people answer this question, and 85% were mostly to fully aware. 10% were somewhat committed, I should say, and 5% said, I'm not quite sure how committed I am to actually doing this. From a regional perspective, the answer was about 84% being very committed to helping with peace building. And on an international level, 89%, you were very aware, 89% of those that responded, very aware of what Rotary is doing internationally. So we have a little bit of work to do in terms of commitment of not only knowing about it, but doing something about it. And finally, I just want to thank this committee and this club for the willingness to be able to really take a look and introspectively understand where we are today, so that in 2 or 3 years within our strategic planning efforts, we can do this again and compare notes. How much progress have we made? So I thank you for listening to these numbers, and I will turn it back over to Georgianne.
This has been a really hard-working group. Can we give them a thanks, please? So lastly, and this always happens to us every time we plan some time for us to have a discussion, we're running a little bit short on time. I wonder, is it all right with everybody if we have 5 more minutes? We have 5 more minutes. I know some people have to get back to work. I'm usually one of those people. So, so this next part, we want to do a discussion because you all gave us such rich information, especially in the individual responses that you submitted. And so really quickly, because this affects all of us. This affects our PR, it affects our reputation, it affects our membership, it affects what we're able to accomplish as we try to solve these big problems with people who come from all different backgrounds and bring such rich experiences. So we have 3 questions we wanted to ask, and the way we've done this is row 1, so the 5 tables in row 1, we're going to ask you to answer the question, how can we be more welcoming? Those of you in row 2, we want you to answer the question, how do we embed peace building, like peace building's in our DNA, but how can we embed it in more of our club activities and programs? And row 3, those of you in the row in the back, you're going to answer, where can our Rotary Club be present to attract a more diverse audience? Now, the way we've done this, we have a white sheet of paper on the table. You're not going to write on that. We have Post-its. So you can put your individual answers on a Post-it. Go ahead and everybody could do that individually. Then share them, put them on the white piece of paper, and maybe take a few minutes to brainstorm if somebody else's answer makes you think of something else. We'll take about 5 minutes to do this. We want to capture your answers, so please write them on the Post-its and put them on the white pieces of paper. And then those online, I'm going to come and check in with you. We'll do this for the next 5 minutes. Okay, as you all conclude your conversations, and again, this is not the end of this. We want to keep getting your ideas as we look forward to all the various ways that we can be a peace building club. I'm going to invite Glenn Towery to come forward and share a little bit about a peace pole that he personally carved, and he's brought it today. So that's how we're going to conclude our program. All right, if we can have your attention. This is Glenn Towery. He is a member of our racial unity group. And as we started working on peace poles, and we have lots to share with you about our peace pole projects, Glenn was inspired to create his own peace pole. He hand carved it. So he's going to tell you a little bit about it.
Okay. All right, everyone. How are you doing today? Yeah. All right. Repeat after me. Spread love around the world. Say it like you mean it now. Spread love around the world. And that's what this poll, peace poll, came out for. I was thinking, sitting at home during the pandemic, thinking, why am I so angry? Why am I, feeling these things that I'm feeling? And I was really tired, right? And I came outside and I saw this limb torn off of a tree laying in my backyard. I said, oh. And I didn't feel anything for the tree, I felt for the limb. And I picked up the limb and I looked at it, and this part here was jagged, and something spoke to me and it said, this is your opportunity to feel better. And the very first thing I decided to carve it, were these words: emote love. And after I carved those words, I thought I was done. And I looked at that and I said, no, you're not done. But I felt a lot better because I realized that I had been emoting something other than love. I wasn't conscious of it. And I think many of us do that. So I kept on carving. And I carved this eye, which is the all-seeing eye of God. Because I felt like it was prominence that I found this stick and carved this. And in the middle of that eye, you see, that is a real gem. That's my birthstone. I'm a May baby. It's an emerald, and I actually took an emerald that I had and I put it in there, and then it just started coming together from the power of God, the all-seeing eye, to the heart, and that's what we as human beings should always be about. And so I had the power of God going to the heart in his stick. It's all symbolic. And underneath that is the symbol of Am. Anybody knows what the symbol of Am is? The symbol of Am is a spiritual sign that represents the sound of the universe. It's an ancient sign, and you have to come and look at the stick and turn it like this really to be able to see the whole symbol there. And behind it, I was looking for spiritual signs that meant things to me personally. But there's a star and the crescent backing up everything here. And then on the other side of the star and the crescent was a sign of I Ching, because I was a martial artist. And the sign of I Ching is a sign of balance. So I put that on the stick. And these beads were made by my cousin, who is also a martial artist. He's a 7th Dan Kung Fu guy, and he made these for me. They're made out of agates. Agates are power stones, right? If you know anything about, the gyms or anything, way back in the day, even the Romans, they used to adorn themselves with agates so they would have power, in their life and be protected. And so what I did was I took what he made for me, I drilled a hole in here, I laced it with copper wire, and I inserted it in there to make it conduit. I tried to create a conduit for this stick and for the energy that I put into it while I carved it. And at the very bottom here, there's a lot of other stuff. I tried to carve a lamb's foot because sheep and lambs are so peaceful, and I mean, no matter where you go in the world, they're just, they're docile, they're not doing anything to anyone, they're just minding their own business, trying to live, and always grouped up in love. And so that's all of the symbolism of this, except for the 7. The 7 at the top, I was taught many, many years ago that 6 is the number of man, but 7 is man with God. So I put the 7 over the emote love. And I'm gonna tell you, when I got through carving this, I felt so much better. I really did. Not to say that I still didn't have moments where I was angry and shouting at the TV, but then I would go pick this up and I'd go like, oh yeah, emote love. So I want to say to you, emote love. Spread love around the world. Spread love around the world. Spread love around the world. That is what will save us. Save me.
I just want to thank everybody for giving that group some time to just give us some of that positive energy today. And I appreciate the work of this room. If you're interested in learning more about that work, joining it, please visit with one of those members. And also thank you for your feedback on the table today. If I know anything about that group, they will take your notes and expect change, and they will put those things into action. So let's give that group one more round of appreciation. Thank you. All right, I'm excited. My calendar is growing into August. That means my year is moving forward. Okay, so July 23rd, tomorrow, ramp build. Paul Harris is next Friday with the club social, and the beneficiary request for consideration closes. August 5th and 6th, Multi-District Training Institute, and Coach Joe Austin is on the program for August 5th. So come learn about Southwestern football. We have got our E-Man on August 12th. Coming to us from the Racial Unity Committee program. And then on August 19th, District Governor Shannon Coleman is coming. That is her visit for the year. That is a visit where you need to wear working shoes. We will be busy servicing Rotarians that visit. So yes, Amy, yes. So come ready to work and not sit and get. We will be doing lots of good things. Next slide. Perfect. Our minute for peace today is, if we have no peace, it is because we have forgotten that we belong to each other. Mother Teresa. Thank you. All right. Any announcements for the Good Rotary?
The 60th anniversary committee is going to be here for about 20 minutes.
60th anniversary. Past presidents, anybody? 4 minutes, Ron said. No, you'll be there for a minute, not 4 minutes. Head to that back corner though. Thank you. All right, if you would please stand and join me for the four-way test of the things we think, say, or do. First, second, third, Fourth. And number 5, we are adjourned. Thank you.